And for our session today, we are looking at crisis marketing and how ASEAN marketers respond. I believe I will learn a lot from my colleagues in the ASEAN countries. And to start off this, let me just show 2 slides. So the very first slide, So I just wanted to it's something that all of us know, that when we talk about marketing, as marketers, we must always be very conscious about what is happening in our environment. So this is a term that I have coined. I call it a root environment. And from here, let me just share with you that I learned a lot from both Professor Philip Kotler and from Park Ramawan as well. That's why we came out with a book. We don't call it marketing, we call it marketing, meaning sensing and responding to changes in the market. The market is always changing. And when I use this word root, I think it captures very well the essence that as marketers, we must always sense and respond to changes in the market. The market will change. The market will change, whether it's in terms of customers' preferences, whether it's in terms of competitors, whether it's in terms of the environment, the larger environment, the technological environment, political environment, economic environment. So that's why as marketers, we must always be ready to change. This term root stands for rapidly changing, uncertain, dynamic, and engaging. So in the context of the COVID-19 environment, for example, when the first few cases were discovered of coronavirus, nobody would have expected that it would today have gone up to more than 5.5 million cases and 350,000 deaths. I verified this figure just only minutes ago with Worldometer. That gives a live situation about how many cases there are, how many deaths there is. So in the context of the COVID-19 environment, it's certainly rapidly changing and uncertain. We do not yet know, for example, how pervasive or how fast this situation, the COVID-19 situation, will change. For example, who knows whether a second wave will come in, whether a third wave will come in, or who knows when a vaccine can be discovered. If a vaccine can be discovered, it will really change the rules of the game. And the COVID-19 situation is very dynamic as well. So, for instance, the spread has gone to many countries all over the world. And there are already a lot of people saying that the epicenter of the COVID-19 has shifted from the USA, perhaps to South America today. So it's very dynamic. And at the same time, it's very engaging. I believe that of all people, marketers must be the ones who should take the lead to engage ourselves to face any challenge. So that's why it is a very, very apt for us to discuss about crisis marketing. The purpose of my opening address is not so much to provide solutions. Whilst we can learn about solutions, at the end of the day, the most important thing is whether we marketers, we ourselves, can come out with solutions. The reason is that there isn't a cure-all. Every country, every region faces a very different situation. So there is no one solution that fits all. But through this ASEAN Caucus session, I hope that we can learn from our speakers who will share about the responses in their own countries. It is by learning from each other, by challenging ourselves, probing our minds, that we can come up with a better solution. So I will have a next slide that shows what are some of the key marketing challenges. This list is by no means exhaustive, But my whole purpose is that first, a forum such as this can provide some answers. As importantly is that it will help to raise more questions for us to ponder, to think about deeply. Each country, each region can be at a different phase. For some countries, for some regions, they may be at the what we call opening phases. For some, they are still at the lockdown phases. And I like what Park Hamawan just now mentioned about 3 phases. So for instance, he mentioned about a new phase, that is the lockdown phase, the next phase, the reopen phase, and a post phase, which is the new normal phase. I don't think any country can say we have gone beyond the COVID-19. I don't think any country can say that we are now back to normal. So most countries will be at the new phase, the lockdown phase, or the next phase, which is the reopen phase. So in these 2 phases, I believe these questions are pertinent, are very relevant for us to think about. For instance, for some industries, today, unless and until a vaccine is discovered, it may no longer be feasible to provide some products or services. For example, those in the hospitality industry, hotels, it is a very challenging time for them. So they will need to rethink about it. The main focus will be more on survival rather than on growth in such a stage. So what would we do, or what should we do when it is no longer feasible to provide some products or services? The cruise industry will be another example. I am posing these challenges, these questions, because as marketers, even if we are not in such industries, by thinking about various challenges that are faced by different industries, that can help us in terms of our marketing knowledge to be more entrepreneurial in our thinking and to learn what are some things that we can improve on, or what are some things that there is no solution but which we have to accept and to move on. Another very big challenge to me is in many countries, we are faced with a situation where income is lower and where there's a lot more uncertainty. So this leads to reduced demand. Suddenly, for example, products that were once considered as convenience products, low involvement products, may today become high involvement products. With lower income, people will demand higher value to spend their very limited resources. So a challenge for marketers will be, how can we get customers to buy our product? What value can we offer that will be aligned to the situation, which is generally a lower income situation? Of course, there are exceptions. There are some industries that really thrive. For example, if we talk about logistics industries, they do well. Those industries, for example, in the biomedical industries, pharmaceutical industries, they do well. They may have higher income, but they tend to be more of the exception than the rule. In general, most markets have lower income and uncertainties. So we as marketers, what can we do? What should we do to address such a situation? Another key challenge is changes in the way to fulfill demand. So just now, for example, we have heard from Jack Yao about contactless delivery. Will this be the new norm, for example? How could we deal with it if we are in countries or places whereby the internet may not be as strong, for example? Another challenge, and this really highlights how pervasive or how diverse marketing can be, because as marketers, we should not only focus on looking at how to fulfill the needs and wants of customers. We also have to think about supply chain challenges. For example, in the early days of COVID-19, many countries face challenges in getting some supplies. A lot of companies, they cannot just get supplies. Why? Because a lot of businesses were in a lockdown situation. And such a challenge may still be present today. So as marketers, we've got to not only be able to generate demand, we've got to also make sure that customers' needs and wants are fulfilled. So this challenge of a supply chain challenge is also part of our marketing challenge. Another challenge will be the pressure to reduce the marketing budget. So for a lot of companies, there's a very big temptation to cut the marketing budget in times of difficulties. Most companies do not see marketing as an investment. They may see it as a cost. So as marketers, our challenge is how can we convince our bosses, please see marketing as an investment. But if it comes to the crunch that our marketing budget has to be slashed, has to be cut, then the important thing is we as marketers have to decide which part of the marketing budget should we cut and what can we do with our remaining budget. How can we make our remaining marketing budget as impactful with less resources? Can we, for example, rely more on online marketing? Is online marketing relatively less expensive than offline marketing? So these are issues marketers like us will have to think about in such challenging times. Another danger to a lot of businesses will be negative information. It could be unintentional or it could be intentional. Rumors and distortions. So sometimes a business can die, not because the situation is so dire, but the perceived situation. So as marketers, we've got to think about it because marketing communications is after all part of marketing as well. How can we deal with, how can we counter rumors and distortions with greater transparency? How can we establish trust with our customers? So these are very important marketing challenges in the COVID-19 situation. Another challenge will be demoralized staff. In a situation, especially when our business is going down, staff may feel the uncertainty. They are not sure whether they will be able to keep their job, whether they will be retrenched. And if we have staff who are demoralized, there can be a lot of consequences. For example, in terms of service quality. So a question to arise is, how can we deal with our staff? How can we encourage them? How can we maintain their morale? How can we inspire them in such a challenging situation? Especially for firms that are engaged in services marketing. Staff will be very, very, very important. And last but not least, brand switching. So in such situations, will our customers switch to another brand? How do we keep our customers' loyalty? And how can we encourage other customers to switch to our brand? My purpose, as I mentioned in this opening address, for this topic that my colleagues in the ASEAN Marketing Caucus will be addressing, is that we are talking about crisis marketing. And in a crisis situation, there are many marketing challenges. Even in normal circumstances, there are already a lot of challenges, more so in a crisis situation. I do not profess that this is an exhaustive list, but I think this list will help to trigger us, to challenge us as marketers, to probe our mind, to stimulate our thinking. How can we be more entrepreneurial in our marketing approaches? What can we do to help address some of these challenges?